In 1845, a grand British expedition set sail, led by the seasoned explorer Sir John Franklin. Two ships, the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror, embarked on a quest to conquer the final frontier of Arctic exploration, the elusive Northwest Passage. They were the pinnacle of naval technology, packed with supplies for 3 years, and manned by a crew of 129 brave souls. They sailed from England with fanfare and high hopes, vanishing into the icy mists of the north. They were never seen alive again. For years, an unsettling silence was the only answer from the Arctic. Britain, a global empire at its zenith, could not accept this defeat. The public was captivated, and Lady Jane Franklin, Sir John's determined wife, tirelessly campaigned for answers. The mystery of the Franklin expedition became a national obsession. What had happened to these men and their magnificent ships? The Admiralty launched one of the largest search and rescue operations in history. Dozens of ships and thousands of men were dispatched into the treacherous labyrinth of ice and snow. These missions, however, didn't just search for Franklin. They inadvertently mapped vast, previously unknown regions of the Canadian Arctic. But the cost was immense. Instead of finding answers, many of these rescue missions simply added new names to the long list of the lost. Years after their disappearance, the first clues began to surface. Discovered by Inuit hunters who had stories of strange white men and their colossal wooden vessels, search parties eventually found traces of Franklin's men on Beechey Island and King William Island. The discoveries were chilling. They found journals that ended abruptly, mid-sentence. They found food tins, sealed by the frost, which later analysis revealed were likely tainted with lead, slowly poisoning the crew. And perhaps, most hauntingly, they found small, simple wooden crosses, half buried in the snow, marking the graves of men who died in the first winters. The evidence painted a grim picture of starvation, disease, and a desperate, doomed march south across the ice. But Franklin's disappearance was just one chapter in a much larger saga of humanity's perilous dance with the Arctic. The ice has a long memory, and it has been the setting for countless stories of courage and tragedy. The quest to find Franklin created its own legends of survival and loss. Take the HMS Investigator, one of the many ships sent to find the lost expedition. Commanded by Robert McClure, the Investigator became trapped in the very same frozen maze it was trying to navigate. For 3 agonizing years, the crew endured the crushing pressure of the pack ice. They waited through for endless dark winters, their supplies dwindling, their hope flickering like a dying candle. When a rescue party finally reached them, they found men who were thin, silent, and forever changed by their ordeal. They had survived, but a part of them had been left behind, frozen in time. They were the first to actually transit the Northwest Passage, but they did so by a combination of ship and sledge over the ice, a testament to their desperate situation. Decades later, in 1913, the story repeated itself with a new generation of explorers. The Karlok, the flagship of the ambitious Canadian Arctic expedition, was caught in the unforgiving grip of drifting ice just north of Alaska. The ship, designed for whaling but not for the immense power of the Arctic pack, was carried west for months, a helpless prisoner of the frozen sea. She wandered aimlessly, creaking and groaning under the strain, while her people, a diverse group of scientists and sailors, struggled to survive on the constantly moving ice floes. The Karlok was eventually crushed and sank, forcing the survivors to make a desperate trek across the unstable ice to Wrangel Island. Their journey was one of unimaginable hardship, a brutal test of human endurance against the harshest elements on Earth. Many did not make it. And then there was the American expedition aboard the Jeannette. In 1879, she set out from San Francisco with the bold aim of sailing to the North Pole via the Bering Strait. Like so many before her, the Jeannette was soon ensnared by the ice off the coast of Siberia. For nearly 2 years, the ship drifted, locked in the frozen ocean. The pressure ridges, massive walls of ice forged by the ocean's power, eventually became too much. The Jeannette was crushed, her timbers splintering as she sank beneath the waves, leaving her crew stranded hundreds of miles from land. Their commander, George DeLong, was a man of incredible fortitude. He led his men on a grueling retreat across the White Wilderness, pulling lifeboats on sledges, hoping to reach the Siberian mainland. Through it all, he kept a meticulous journal, a calm and careful record of every passing day in their struggle for survival. His final entry, a stark and simple note, read, Day 140th. When search parties finally arrived the following spring, they found what the cold had so perfectly preserved. They discovered campfires still circled with stones, notebooks sealed shut by ice, and personal belongings laid out neatly, as if their owners had only stepped away for a moment. Each of these voyages began with bold ambition and immense courage. Each ended in an eerie, profound stillness. Every attempt to rescue the lost seemed to only create new names on the lists of the missing. The Arctic had become a kind of mirror, reflecting back the same tragic story of human ambition meeting an implacable, indifferent force of nature. It was a cycle of hope, struggle, and silence, repeated again and again. Today, the Arctic is changing. The world's warming climate is causing the ancient glaciers and sea ice to melt at an unprecedented rate. And as the ice recedes, it is giving up its long-held secrets. The wrecks of Franklin's ships, the Erebus and the Terror, were finally discovered in 2014 and 2016. In locations that aligned with Inuit oral histories that had been dismissed for over a century. These discoveries are like finding ghost ships, preserved in the cold, dark water, offering a direct link to that fateful expedition. All across the Arctic, melting ice reveals timbers from crushed hulls, brass buttons from naval uniforms, tools dropped in the snow centuries ago. These are small voices from an age that refused to let go of mystery. Artifacts that whisper stories of the men who carried them. The enduring question remains, why? Why do humans continually return to these places that seem to never let them leave? What is it about the vast, white emptiness that calls to the human spirit, daring us to chart its blanks, to solve its riddles, even at the ultimate cost? Perhaps it's the pursuit of knowledge, the glory of discovery, or simply the unbreakable will to push beyond the known horizon. Or maybe some questions are meant to remain unanswered, frozen beneath the ice, serving as a timeless and humbling reminder of the power of the natural world and the enduring mysteries that lie at the very edges of our map. The Arctic keeps its secrets well, and perhaps it is in the not knowing, in the space left for wonder and for awe, that the true legacy of these expeditions lies. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the frozen past. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the great unsolved mysteries of history. See you next time.